everyone! I'm Maki! A new Gundam animation series has been announced. It's called Mobile Suit Gundam XARX-ZERO. According to the official announcement, this animation is part of a project called the LG Project. The story is set in the same world as the previously announced Gundam Rogue Orbit. It is probably safe to assume that LG stands for Rogue. In other words, Rogue Orbit can also be interpreted as the Orbit subtitle of the Rogue series. The official media has also announced that ARX-ZERO takes place approximately 100 years before Rogue Orbit. The title Alex is also striking. The letter X has been added to it. Only the X is shown in a different color. Let's analyze the various pieces of information alongside the promotional video. Please consider supporting my channel by subscribing for just 99 cents per month. As a thank you, you will receive a name badge and comment stamps. Now, let's begin the analysis. First, we see a meteor falling towards Earth. Then, it crashes into the surface, causing a massive explosion. The opening scene of the original 0079 depicted the tragedy of a space colony falling to Earth. Is this another tragedy? However, official media states that through 3 gospels brought from beyond the solar system, humanity achieved tremendous prosperity and expanded its control throughout the entire solar system. It is also possible that the meteor itself is one of these gospels. Information about the 3 gospels is also available. Apparently, the 3 technologies known as gravity control, ultra-high-speed communication and image material technology are called the 3 gospels. We also see people who appear to be researchers studying a mysterious substance. Perhaps they are studying the meteor that fell to Earth. Their research may have led to the discovery of the 3 gospels. However, less than 10 years after these new technologies were put into practical use, they spun out of control. They triggered an aggressive self-replication phenomenon that began to attack humanity. It seems that the substance was actually an ecosystem of some kind. Humanity apparently decided to call these life forms the apocalypse. According to the official media, the apocalypse are silicon-based life forms. The battle between the apocalypse and humanity lasted about 3 months. The fighting reached a stalemate in Earth's orbit. Humanity was forced to abandon Earth. They began referring to the period following this event as after apocalypse. Then, 45 years passed. For children born on the moon and in space colonies, living in a world where the apocalypse had occurred had become a normal part of everyday life. The story begins when a boy named Azumi Rei wakes up on the moon. When people hear the term metallic life form, they will probably think of the elves from Gundam 00. The elves were visitors who came to ask humanity for help. However, official media sources clearly state that the apocalypse are hostile. The important point is that they are hostile towards humanity. In the promotional video, they are shown destroying buildings and other human-made structures while plants appear to be thriving. This reminded me of Zanbet 3. Zanbet was Sunrise Studios' first independently planned animation. At the beginning of the ARX-ZERO promotional video, we see a logo commemorating Sunrise's 50th anniversary. Zanbet 3 was directed by Yoshiyuki Tomino. This is common knowledge among fans, but Tomino also directed the original 0079 and wrote its story. In Zanbet 3, the enemy invades based on the belief that humanity is harmful to the universe. This is an example of Tomino's response to the question, why would aliens with advanced technology and severe and deliberately spend so much time and effort invading Earth? He came up with the idea that an intelligent life form with an advanced civilian had judged humanity to be something akin to a disease. Zanbet 3 is considered to represent the origins of Sunrise Studio. The apocalypse are now hostile towards humanity. However, they are not destroying the planet and plant. There may be some kind of clue hidden in this footage. The protagonist, Azuma Ray, appears. When they hear the name Ray, some people may think of Admiral Ray. However, XARX-ZERO is described as an alternative series. It is not set in the Universal Century world, so the name is probably simply a nod to fans. Azuma is shown walking through the city. At a location resembling a factory, Japanese writing can be seen. The official rating is unknown, but it appears to see something like kick and kosher. Interpreted literally, the characters mean a company responsible for an industry that circulates machinery. It may be a company that recycles machinery once it has been used. Interestingly, Haro is depicted as the company logo. It is also striking that the Haro carried by the protagonist is very small. The next video includes scenes from someone's perspective showing them interacting with a woman. It's the idea that the viewer is experiencing things from Azuma's perspective. She is the second person to appear after Azuma. Could she be someone close to Azuma? She acts as though she is about to embrace the person she is speaking to. Could she be Azuma's mother? According to the official media, Azuma lost his parents in an attack by the apocalypse. Could this be a memory from when he was young? Upon closer inspection, Azuma's eye color appears to be the same as this woman's. However, the hair color is completely different. Could his hair color be inherited from his father? Of course, it's also possible that she's not a blood relative, but a lover. Aimer is the designated pilot of the GUNDAM XARX-ZERO. Admiral Ray, on the other hand, became the pilot of the Gundam by chance. However, Azuma already appears to be a seasoned Gundam pilot at the start of the story. The GUNDAM XARX-ZERO is an experimental unit developed to combat the apocalypse. This means that Azuma is a soldier. A mysterious machine appears in the next scene. The official media introduces this machine as the apocalypse. If you look closely, you can see a rock-like object attached to its rear. It may be a machine that has been taken over by the apocalypse. It is also notable that it has a mono eye similar to those found on Zoku machines. In the Gundam series, mono eyes often symbolize the enemy. This further illustrates the threat posed by the apocalypse. We see an enormous rock-like object in New York. Could this be an apocalypse nest or egg? Or is the rock itself the apocalypse? At first glance, it appears embedded in the ground, but the story has already established gravity control technology. Moreover, this technology originally belonged to the apocalypse. If you look closely, you can see a city directly beneath the rock. If the rock had fallen from space, the city would have been destroyed. Perhaps it is floating. It could be a battleship or a base. There is also a scene in which someone who appears to be a soldier is attacked by the apocalypse. Once again, many people will probably be reminded of the elves. Are they consuming the human? Or are they assimilating them? Seeing this scene makes the fact that we confirmed earlier that the plants are thriving without being invaded feel even more striking. Why are humans preyed upon while plants coexist? Then, a machine resembling a mobile suit appears. If you look closely, it seems that someone is destroying its head with their arm. A component resembling a human spinal cord extends from its head. The scene changes. Another machine covered in crystal-like objects appears. If you look closely, you can see parts that resemble the legs of a mobile suit. Perhaps multiple mobile suits have been forcibly fused together by the apocalypse. In the next scene, a machine resembling a mass-produced mobile suit appears. Its color scheme is similar to that of the GEM series from the Universal Century. It also resembles the mobile suits that appeared in Rogue Orbit. The rectangular green light on its chest is also similar. Another mobile suit resembling a Zaku also appears. Could this be an enemy faction separate from the apocalypse? War is also an important theme in the Gundam series. Perhaps the story will depict humanity as unable to stop fighting each other despite the common threat of the apocalypse. Various characters appear. Could they be soldiers? Then a handsome young man with blonde hair and wearing a red military uniform appears. He resembles Charles Noble. A red mobile suit also appears. It is striking how similar it looks to a Gundam. Will he stand in Azuma's way as his rival? Then Azuma boards the Gundam. There are gun barrels on its head that resemble Balkan cannons. It performs movements that look almost human. Crystal-like objects are growing from the body of the opponent that the Gundam is fighting. It may be a machine that has been taken over by the apocalypse, similar to the one that appeared earlier. When the Gundam attacks with a beam saber, we see that the enemy is in an unusual position. It seems that a Zaku-like mobile suit has been taken over by the apocalypse and fused with another machine. Next, it fights an apocalypse that resembles a mobile armor. The enemy uses a weapon that appears to be a beam weapon. The Gundam's shield can be seen on the right of the screen. The shield blocks the beam weapon. There may be technology similar to beam coating. The Gundam then attacks the mobile armor's eye with a beam saber. This is reminiscent of the scene in the original 0079 where the Gundam fought the Zero mobile armor glove roll. In the next scene, Gundam Zero can be seen evading an enemy attack. The thrusters on its back deploy. Once again, it blocks a beam with its shield. Another scene features the sword stance used by Admiral Ray during his battle with the Cloak. It seems that Gundam XARX-ZERO will be a work that pays great respect to the original 0079. In the final scene, Gundam Zero appears wearing a cloak-like piece of cloth. This is the same form that is shown in the key visual. Its appearance is reminiscent of Crossbone Gundam and Gundam XU Repair. If you look closely, you will see that its left and right eyes are different colors. Its right thumb has also been replaced with one that looks almost biological. Additionally, its left thumb is wrapped in cloth. Based on what we have seen so far, it appears to be in a state of fusion with the apocalypse. Perhaps removing the cloth from its right thumb would cause the armor to come off, exposing the apocalypse fused inside. It would also be interesting to consider this alongside the project name, Rogue. The apocalypse and humanity are enemies. However, Gundam Zero appears to be a fusion of an apocalypse and the mobile suit created by humans coexisting as one entity. As an entity belonging to neither side, Rogue seems like a fitting description. And with that, the promotional video comes to an end. The words "choose the future" appear in the promotional video. What could they mean? It has been revealed that this story leads into Rogue Orbit. However, it has not been explicitly stated that the two stories are directly connected. Rogue Orbit depicts humanity being driven to the brink of extinction by the apocalypse. The narration says we have no choice but to hide away and live in isolation. If the stories are connected, it is highly likely that Aozumi will be defeated in her battle. It's possible that, while the animated series ends with a happy ending, Rogue Orbit might depict a future where humanity is defeated through a different outcome. Alternatively, will Azumi choose an ending in which he abandons humanity and coexists with the apocalypse? This could resemble Anakin Skywalker's transformation into Darth Vader in the final scenes of Star Wars Episode 3. This would be quite interesting. The promotional video includes a narration that says this time the universe will really collapse. It seems his choice will determine the fate of the universe itself. The words "rewrite the future" are written on the key visual. This could also be interpreted to mean that the future of Rogue Orbit does not necessarily have to match that of XARX-ZERO. I was also surprised that GUNDAM XARX-ZERO has the typical Gundam design. Gundam Ariel and Cloak inherited the design DNA of Gundam while also pursuing their own unique identities. It seems to me that the aim of this project is to explore the possibilities of a new Gundam series without ever forgetting the DNA of the traditional Gundam. Let's support the XARX-ZERO story together. That concludes today's analysis. Thank you for watching until the end. I'll see you again in the next episode.